morning, Bobcats. Welcome back to the Startup Stories podcast. Thanks for tuning in every Wednesday, 9 a.m. sharp. Be here, be square. We're here today to share some fresh entrepreneurial insights, give you some stories from our peer student entrepreneurs. Last week, we had John Beagle come on. He's an entrepreneur who has done his fair share of side businesses, side hustles, door-to-door sales, and now he's pursuing financial advising. We really dived into the mindset that he has and the lessons that he learns from door-to-door sales, which some super valuable stuff. So go ahead, check out last week's episode, if you haven't already. But today, I'm excited to introduce an entrepreneur who's doing something I didn't think that we would be able to bring on the podcast. Honestly, it's pretty cool. We have a DJ, and he DJs for wedding venues. Please welcome Milo Paciorek.
Paciorek. However works for you. Nice to meet y'all. Thank you for having me today, Aaron. I really appreciate it. You said be here, be square.
I did.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, be square.
We'll have to edit the intro for next episode.
We'll edit the intro. We'll put the music.
Right. But starting off, let's start with your background. What led you to become a DJ? Where are you from, and how'd you get into this?
Yeah, that's actually a great question that I love to give the long answer when I get the chance to do it. So, I've always made music growing up, and throughout high school, I was a sound person, producer, all that good stuff. And I was working at Amazon when I went to tech up in Lubbock. And I met some guy when I was moving boxes. He's like, yeah, I DJ on Fridays and Saturdays at this bar. They pay me $200, and and life is good. And they give a drink pass for my friends. And at the time working at Amazon, I thought that was like the end goal. Dude, you could make $200 DJing in a night. I didn't have any money to get a board or anything though, so I just called it there. I was like, well, that sounds good. I don't know why I never thought about DJing. And I put it off for a bit. I moved back to Houston. And I started.
So you're from Houston?
There. Yeah, I'm from the Houston area. Yeah, and I was looking for another job, and I was about to get some other horrible warehouse job, slaving away job. Literally, I was about to take the worst job in the world. I was about to take the worst job ever. It was they only hire felons, bro.
Really?
Yeah, I was about to be scanning, walking around supermarkets, scanning to make sure inventory was right. It was tragic. It was genuinely tragic.
That doesn't sound like the worst job in the world. I've actually heard some pretty bad things about Amazon, but we're not going to dive into that.
So I was like, there's no way I can do this. This just doesn't use my personality. It would just be a horrible use of me. So I typed in fun in Indeed, and I found this company that needed wedding DJs. So I went from there, went and interviewed. They just needed people. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like I got the job. I was like, wow, I got the job. And they were like, this guy actually wants to come DJ a wedding for $150. Right. Back then it was trash. It was fun. It was fun to get into it, but it was a very entry-level company, budget company. And they were very tight on funding and everything. So when I started off, I was DJing weddings for $150. But it doesn't sound horrible, but when you consider it's, I'd have to go to Houston, pick up the equipment, make a whole day out of it, drive to a venue. And the first one I did was an hour and a half away. And I still had the Jeep Wrangler, so I spent $50 in gas, and it was a whole day of work. So I literally DJ'd a whole wedding for $100.
You lost money.
No, I didn't lose money, but I probably netted $80.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's still. The only reason
is that minimum wage or not even.
There have been times it may have been cutting it close, right? Which is crazy because it's not the work itself that is worth the money when it gets later down the road, but it's the fact that you're DJing someone's wedding. Imagine having a wedding and then you learn your DJ was netting $80. How would you feel?
Yeah.
You paid $1,000.
I mean, I don't know. I'd feel like
you'd be worried about
a lot of it's wasted.
You'd be worried about what kind of DJ you were getting, right?
Yeah.
That would do that for that. So that's the big problem with a lot of these big companies. But I get more into that down the road. That's a bit of a tangent. But besides that, I was DJing for that company for a while. Eventually they gave more raises, so it became more worth it. And I moved to San Marcos. I moved to San Marcos late 2022. Yeah, fall 2022.
And were you already DJing before that?
Yeah, I went to Texas Tech fall 2021. I started DJing when I came back spring 2022. And by the time I moved out here, I'd maybe DJing like only like 8 weddings. There was not that much work because they had a whole Houston team, but this company had many, many weddings in Austin, San Antonio, and they had nobody out here. Nobody. So when I said I was moving to San Marcos, they said, take your equipment and just operate out there. And that's when it became maybe 1 or 2 weddings a month to now 2 every weekend at
Oh,
least.
wow.
Yeah. So that's when I really started cranking it out, really getting good at it and really getting a feel for weddings and that becoming my side job, my main thing, just DJing weddings on the weekend. And it was a great experience. I was just doing tons of weddings, doing school on the weekends, and all I cared about was all these weddings I was doing. So it was fun. I think later 2023 is when I officially started my own business. And then it wasn't until 2024 that I started, no, yeah, 2024 I started area managing for that company. Yeah, actually I think 2023 I did. It was late 2023 I started being an area manager for that company that I was working in San Marcos for.
Mm-hmm.
So I built a team of like 5, 6 people to do DJs and photo booths.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then
So you were like their boss, kind of.
I was just like, yeah, I was just area manager. I hate it. I didn't like that term boss. It was just like,
You just like put them together.
yeah, it's so funny because I pretty much gave myself a job because I wanted to have a better job. And I said,
Right.
they need an area manager out here. So I made my own team. I found people and I constructed my own team and then I employed myself to manage them.
Did you instruct a team of like people who have been DJs or just friends?
No,
And you were just like,
I just trained them all. Like if I met you back then, I probably would have been like, Aaron, ever thought
thought about
DJing? Ever
DJing.
thought about DJing weddings? Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to be the wedding DJ hustler anymore. So I left that and then completely started focusing on my own business from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does the DJing industry look like? Is it like super cutthroat, tough competition?
And I'm glad you bring that up because it goes into what we were talking about earlier about wedding DJs and how you were talking about John Beagle.
Oh, yeah.
And how it's sometimes hard to find wedding DJs. Many people tell me, why don't you get into the club scene or anything like that? And the club is like very, very competitive, very, very competitive and late nights. It's if you want that kind of DJing, it depends on what your goal is as a DJ. But since I started off as a wedding DJ, I always had my niche in weddings. And once I learned how to do it well and how to keep a wedding running smoothly, and that was my thing, it was DJing weddings. I already had the niche skill set of doing a wedding because it's very different than doing other things. I mean, you have to be a whole MC. You have to pull this wedding along, be the figure that makes the day happen. So once you have that squared off, it's like you'd make more money DJing weddings anyway, and why switch off when that's something I'm already accustomed in. And in terms of competition for wedding DJs, yeah, there's some studs out there. There's some really, really good ones. Some guys that are really established, but there's also some really bad ones. I mean, some wedding DJs are notoriously bad. I've heard some stories that you wouldn't believe. I've even from companies I've worked for that hired that contracted some DJs and had serious problems. I heard stories where some DJs were just like, the ceremony was about to start and this DJ is like playing pool with guests and they're like, you gonna go play the music?
What?
And he was like in the middle of a pool game, like not about to go do his job. Right. No,
He's like, I got money on the line.
Yeah,
Hang on.
yeah. I've heard some bad stories about one time I was just setting up. I didn't even do anything yet. The wedding hadn't even started and the coordinator gave me a hug. She said, thank you for being so great. I was like, the wedding didn't even start. And she was like, I don't know. I've just been having such bad experiences with DJs.
Wow.
She's like, I had one last week that the bride was asking him to play a song and he just wouldn't play it. And I'm like, that's so crazy, right?
Yeah, that's actually insane.
So it's very, weddings is very interesting in that sense because that's where you just really find your price point, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're gonna have some horrible DJs and maybe they're operating very cheaply, and then you're gonna have competition, but the very established players in the field that have been in there for a long time, that have DJ'd like 1,000 weddings and are really, really good, are in a completely different price level. And I don't try to compete with them in that range. I'm not charging the same prices as them. So my strategy was to be better than everyone in my price range.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, you could probably find, I mean, of course you want to have self-confidence, be like, nobody can DJ a wedding better than me. But of course, I've been doing it for 3 years. DJed close to 200 weddings. There's dudes that have been doing this for 30 years and DJed thousands of weddings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie and act like I got this down better than them. So yeah, he might be able to cook on the boards a little bit better than me, but he's 3 times my price.
Yeah.
Right.
So it sounds like you're like trying to provide the best value.
That's actually, I'm so glad you said that. That's always been my goal. I was on a call with the couple yesterday, and I was explaining that to her. That's always been my goal with my own business, is providing the best value for the buck you pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. What about how have your margins looked? Because if you're providing the best value, that has to come at your own expense. So like you said that before, on $1,000 you were maybe pocketing 80.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that
Has that gotten better, or is that
that was off contract work. So that was when the company charged the customer $1,000, and then they paid me $80 to do the wedding, and gave me the
what?
equipment. Yeah, or they paid me $150 to do the wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, and then later it went to 300 a gig. So that was decent. Like I would do 2-3 gigs in the weekend. It'd be $600-900.
Mm-hmm.
So that was solid, right? That was solid. But for my business, I've always charged $1,200, $1,195 to DJ the wedding, right?
Mm-hmm. And how much of that is profit, if you don't mind?
Pretty much all of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So at first, when I first started my business, I was very enthusiastic to get the ball rolling, start growing, hire all my friends as DJs, and have this big wedding company off the rip. That right.
Yeah.
And I started paying for advertising. The typically what everyone would enlist on. There's a couple websites where anybody in the wedding industry can list their business, and that's where all the couples go to look.
Right.
So I knew that was the gold standard of where to advertise, and it was like $250 a month. And I did it for 3 months, and I didn't get a single customer off there. So
Really?
so after $750, I was like, this is not the move.
Yeah.
Right. This is not the way to acquire customers, clients,
Mm-hmm.
just work. So I had to take a step back and think, what's my goal for this business? Right. Was it to try to just be like these other big budget companies that are paying so much in advertising and other costs that at the end of the day, they're not really making money? Or maybe move to more of an organic growth strategy. So that's when I stopped paying for advertising and said, I don't care how much work I get, but I just would rather do less gigs and pocket
Better
a lot
work.
more. Yeah. And I'm there's kind of two sides to that. I charge less because I'd rather do more work than less work, but then I don't spend all my money in advertising. So it just works how it works. So I ended up getting most of my work off of making friends with venues and coordinators and different people that are
Gotcha.
tapped in the industry that can recommend me. So I've gotten all my work since then organically off recommendations, so I don't have to spend any money on advertising and all that.
Okay. And what do you think your biggest struggle is right now?
Right now,
Mm-hmm. Is it still like marketing, or would you say it's like getting client? I guess that's marketing. But
I wouldn't say so much.
do you still struggle to get clients? Because we were talking about this earlier, and you were telling me that that's sort of the reason why you do the independent contracting, because you don't always have gigs lined up, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of contract work to fill up my weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is the goal to substitute that contract work with just your own bookings?
yeah.
I mean,
Eventually,
it
the
sounds
goal,
like you get like 4x the return from doing
you
that.
definitely do. You
Yeah.
definitely do. Nowadays, for contract work, I'll probably get anywhere from $400 to $600, $700 for a gig.
Mm-hmm.
Some companies pay a lot better than others, but it's never as much as getting your own customer, right?
Yeah.
And of course, with the career I want to get into anyway, I'm probably not going to be doing so much contract work on the weekends besides my own gigs. Really, the main thing right now is trying to transition probably more from contract work to having consistent personal customers and working around the seasons, because it is very seasonal. Weddings
Oh, is it
typically,
really?
weddings are heavy in the fall and the spring, and I'm right now I'm in the process of bringing up my offers, selling more, and trying to get footage. I'd say the hard part is really probably a good amount of advertising, in a sense, not advertising in the fact of paying for it, but getting all this footage from your weddings, putting all the stuff you have on your website. It's a lot of the stuff I've been putting off because it's just a lot. There's a lot of footage, and things on the website that need to go into it, but adding that really makes a big difference because when I send customers like some stuff from a wedding or they go look at it Instagram or something like that, then there's like way quicker to book.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you said that like your first gig, you were only charging like $150, or I don't know if that's charging or getting paid.
Yeah, no,
But,
that's what they paid.
Okay.
So,
How
yeah.
did you deal with that lack of experience? Like, did anybody come up to you? At what point were you like, I'm good enough to do this and like charge $1,300
Yeah.
and provide that value?
That's a great question. And it does, the confidence does have to grow over time because when I first started, the first wedding I did on my own business, I charged her like $800 or 700, 800. I think it might have been 700. And
Do you think it was good?
the what?
Were you like proud of your first wedding, or were you like, oh, okay, maybe, like, did you have any doubt after that first DJ set?
That was the first wedding for my own company. So that wasn't the first wedding I've DJ'd in general.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the first one that was through my business was back then. I blew my mind. I was like, somebody's willing to pay me $700. Right. And from there, it builds more confidence to where the first time I got a customer that paid the full price of $1,200, I was like losing my mind. I was like, there's no way. Like, she's actually about to sign the contract.
It's like that meme, sign the paper,
Sign the paper. I'll be like following up. You get around to signing me that paper? Right. What was the question?
The question was, did you wait until you were confident enough before you branched out on your own?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I took a lot of time getting experience through work from companies, and I would do other events here and there whenever it called for it. But it took a lot of time getting experience in weddings, and then when I got the confidence to really push on my own, I mean, I'm always like you. We're finance majors and we're always numbers oriented immediately. So the second I realized the company's charging $1,000, I'm trying to push this on my own. I'm like, if they're if the couple is paying $1,000 for me, then I already had that confidence that was the price I was worth on my own. So the confidence grew more when I was doing weddings and they were really happy and they leave a good tip. And let's say some weddings, $150 tip, $200 tip, things of that sort. So I would DJ a wedding and they already paid $1,000 and then they tipped me $200 on top of that. And that was what really grew my confidence. I was like, okay, so they're already paying $1,200 for me.
And they think that you're worth more.
Yeah. And they're thanking me on top of that. And at that point it was like, yeah, so why don't I just have my own business where I can charge that? Because that's the value, right?
What about that like high pressure environment? Because weddings, everyone's emotional. Like, how do you deal with that?
Dude, honestly, that's what keeps it fun.
Really?
Yeah, because it can be stressful because you'll have to navigate through situations and just perform under pressure. Sometimes some weddings are a lot easier than others. Sometimes some weddings are huge, some weddings are small. I typically like big weddings. Big weddings are fun. Yeah.
Sounds like that's where the pressure's on the most.
Right. But it's fun if it's like a big fun crowd. If it's like a big tense crowd, that sucks. But
yeah.
But I always try to lighten the mood, get everyone excited, and have fun with it. That's the thing. At first, it's a lot. If it's a lot of pressure. But once you do it for a while, it's like, this is just fun.
What's the wildest or most unexpected thing that's happened while you were DJing?
I would say the wildest and most unexpected thing that's happened. Dude, there's been a lot, dude. Recently, last summer, I had this crowd, and it was a rowdy crowd, and everyone was drunk. They're playing jump rope with the belts, and the bride just wipes out, bro.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no, blacking out on your wedding night.
No, she didn't black out. She just like slipped and wiped out, like completely fell.
Oh.
Yeah, I've had it.
That's
One time I was playing a song. One time I was playing the bride song while she was walking down the aisle and she fell, bro.
Oh no.
Yeah, she like completely fell. Like she tripped on something and like.
What'd you do? How'd you react?
I just
kept it going.
I'm just playing music.
Do you? Are you in charge of playing that song? It's like dun 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 dun.
Nobody uses that song anymore.
Really?
No.
Like no one.
Nobody.
Nobody walks down the aisle on that.
Nobody. Okay. Unless it's like a traditional church, then they'd have some dude on the organ, I guess.
Gotcha. Do you ever like adapt your DJ style to the crowd?
Of course, you have to. You have to. Okay. Yeah, and I've done so many different types of crowds to where I learned a lot of music off of it. I've done Indian weddings, so I've done Bollywood. Yeah, I've done Bollywood weddings.
Okay.
I've different kind of cultures. San Antonio. I've done Spanish announcements for weddings.
Wow. Oh yeah, yeah. You were telling me about this. You were like, you don't speak Spanish, do you?
I can do it for weddings.
You speak just enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
I can pass until they start coming up to me asking me for songs in Spanish. I'm like, you're gonna have to type this in, man. Right.
Have you ever adjusted to a crowd, or has it ever been rough to adjust to a crowd? Like the first time you did a Bali wedding, how was that?
I mean, of course, you can have crowds that are harder to figure out than others. Some crowds will dance to anything you want to put on. Some is like they only like 3 songs, so you better figure out those 3 songs.
The cha-cha slide.
Dude, tell me about it. That was me last night, dude. My mom was like, put on the cha-cha slide.
Really?
Yeah.
Who tells you to put that on, or is that just like something in your queue that comes on every wedding?
I typically never put the cha-cha slide on voluntarily.
It's just such a popular request.
Yeah, dude. People go crazy. People will beg me for the cha-cha slide.
That's crazy.
But if you didn't have any more, I wanted to speak on some more business-facing things.
Yeah.
If you'd like to.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions?
So I do. So DJing sounds like something that entails a lot of startup costs, and I'm sure you were independent contracting, like using other people's equipment at first.
Mm-hmm.
When you invested into it yourself, was there ever any like doubt?
And that was literally what I wanted to get to. So you have a mind reading list of questions then, because that's one of the best questions. So yeah, I was using since I took the company's equipment I was area managing for out there.
Mm-hmm.
I was using their equipment for a lot of my own business stuff.
Oh wow!
I would just call off weekends and then say, I can't work this weekend, and then have my own wedding and then use their stuff. And I knew I was playing a risky game. I mean, I knew all around I was playing a risky game, and that one day they were gonna ask for the equipment and I was gonna have a wedding lined up. And
no!
So and I said, whenever that day comes, I'll just buy my own equipment. And
did you always have like enough money?
Yeah.
Stockpiled for that, just in
so
case?
one week.
But okay, so you just kept the free trial going as long as you could.
I kept the free trial going as long as
exactly.
I could. And 1 week, it was a very busy weekend for the company. It was a big, busy wedding weekend. It was busy season, a big Saturday. And I said I can't DJ a wedding this weekend. I had my own. I had a separate one for myself.
And you told them the truth? You were just like...
No. I just told them, and I had my equipment out there, so nobody could do anything about it. It was like, yeah, I'll DJ the next weekend, and I'll just keep my equipment. That was always the deal. But this new manager, she was coming in hot stuff. Like they would always cycle through managers, and she said she wasn't having it. She was like on top of things. So she's like, okay, that's no problem. You can't work this weekend. That's cool. But we're short on equipment this weekend, so we're gonna need the equipment.
Oh no!
So that night, I had just sat down. And I was like, well, I told myself I'd have to bite the bullet when the time came. So the time came, and I spent like $5,000 in like one night. I got everything. Yeah, I got the whole setup.
Did you put it on a credit card or just?
No, I had enough saved up.
Okay.
But I think I did put on a credit card because
just for the points.
Yeah, just for the points.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then since there, it's been a lot of upgrading and a lot of reinvestment. So, and like you said, like we were talking about earlier, the value, I like to operate with the best value because I've worked for companies that kind of gave you some sketchy equipment, and I hated that. So when I would invest my own stuff, I really wanted the best things, right? So, but sometimes it comes at a heavy cost. Recently, I bought this microphone. How much do you think you'd spend on a microphone? Like a set?
Okay, so I had someone on the podcast, the barber, Jared. Really great guy. For him, his mics weren't crazy good, but they were pretty sick and they were pretty like budget oriented.
Yeah. So
his were 100 for 2. So for you, I would say 300 for like a good mic.
Yeah. So this microphone, this Shure I got, this is just an example, but I got this Shure microphone with the receiver, the lapel mic, and the handheld mic, and I bought it for my friend for $1,000, but if you got it new, it's $1,600. Dang.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, I know my editor in the back is dying out here.
This is crazy.
So equipment gets very expensive. It does, but it's very worth it because it's a reinvestment. I'm reinvesting in lights right now. I'm upgrading my lighting, and I just bought these light bars on my setup, $1,000, and then I'm finishing up some of the other lights, and it's probably gonna be like $3,000 on lights all in. So
wow.
Yeah, upgrading gets really expensive.
It sounds like this is like what you're passionate about.
Yeah, and I sell things. So, and for this last 5 minutes, I just kind of want to get into more tips and things that were successful for me, and more on the profit and loss side of things. So it is a lot of heavy upfront investment that you only really have to do once.
Yeah.
Because you can just keep reusing that equipment. And I want to do more lighting upgrades because I got my camera for footage. So that's things couples are going to see. So they're going to be like, we love the setup. We want it for our wedding. And then you get more bookings off of that. So there's some upgrades that you can sell, and there's some
Gotcha.
upgrades that help you get more sales, right? So whenever I'm selling services to a customer, I send them a PDF of all the services I offer, and that includes services that I don't yet have. Right? So I sell DJ photo booth and all these other add-ons, right?
Right.
And this past weekend was a really big contract. I just DJ'd a wedding last Friday, and it was $1,600.
Okay.
So they paid me $1,600, and $100 tip. So I got $1,700 for that wedding. Imagine going from netting $80 from a wedding and then making $1,700 in one day from a wedding. Like,
And like just
yeah,
2 years later.
3 years.
3 years later.
Yeah. So it's been a long journey upwards. And she bought Dancing on a Cloud, and then she bought a monogram projector. Neither of which I had, of course, but she bought that 8 months ago. So by the time the wedding comes, I can figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So about a month out, I started really figuring out, okay, let me make sure I got all the equipment I need for this wedding. I started ordering things, setting it all up, making sure it works. And that's something that it can be risky, of course, but if you can properly plan for it, you can kind of jumpstart your business, because you don't want to be doing too much investment and then not have this stuff being sold, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like sell first and then figure it out later, especially because they're booking it out so early. I can sell like, for example, I have a wedding coming up in May where they got photo booth as well, right? And I don't yet have a photo booth, but I'll for sure have a photo booth by the time the wedding comes around, right? And it's something that's not like maybe I'll get it, maybe I don't. Like, when it comes to your own business, you have to
reinvest.
You have to invest.
You have to be willing to reinvest,
and you have to take it extremely, extremely seriously, because the reputation is everything. I live and eat off my reputation, right? If I was to, like that wedding I did last Friday, if I was not able to get one of those things, or something didn't work right, and that customer became unhappy, that venue that recommends me a lot. They recommend me a lot. Like I don't have a huge network of people that recommend me, maybe 4 or 5, but those 4 or 5, like I live off those 4 and 5, right? That one venue, they recommend me all the time, and I think I have, like this busy season, I have probably 5 bookings off of them alone, right?
Yeah.
So to rub that relationship wrong would really affect the business and your reputation as a whole, which is what I'm living off. So that's very important, because I don't do all that mass advertising, right? So it is that's more of the part I'm facing with now, just trying to make sure to maintain that image, keep the customers happy, make sure everything is always smooth and that everything is working well. So
it sounds like you want marketing to get more or you're focusing on marketing to get more gigs, or at least you have in the past. But if you're getting most of your business from just 4 or 5 venues, why not, instead of going out directly to the consumer, why not just target more venues?
Yeah, and that was a strategy I did when I first moved out here. I emailed like 40 venues, and it was like, can I yeah. And I met up with a few of them, and so honestly, I should get back into doing this more and talking to them. Typically, the high ticket, like nice venues have already a pretty tight circle, DJ. And to break it to not a stacked DJ, but they have a tight circle of companies that recommend, and to break in the loop can be a little bit challenging. But there's one really nice one that I need to follow up with them, because the coordinator liked me, or the venue girl liked me, and she knew that their circle of who they use is not that great, because it's based off of who the owners like, and she knew some of them weren't that great. So sometimes you have to kind of slither your way through to break in, and it's always just a captivating game, you know. So it keeps you on your edge, like trying to figure out how to navigate this. When I sent out all those emails, 2 venues responded out of like the 50 I hit up. I went with them, and I went and talked to them in person, told them about what I do and everything, and they were like, "Yeah, cool, we'd love to recommend you." And just off they started recommending me, and I got in some work off that. So those were 2 venues that gave me a little bit of some consistent work for a little while a couple years ago. But things like that can definitely be a strategy to implement.
Did you come out here for the DJ business, or did you just come
School.
out here?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just coincidence.
It just happened to coincidence. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, and there's a lot of weddings in Austin and San Antonio, so it ended
Yeah.
up working out well. But
What advice would you give to somebody entering either the DJ business or just their own space? You know, their
don't,
own
so
business.
you don't give me competition, right? No, but it's the performance is not the hard part. Like learning how to DJ weddings well it's a lot of soft skills and things that you don't really need to learn. I mean, some people can do it, some people maybe not so much.
Right.
Like you have to bring a lot of soft skills to the table, but learning to DJ and to DJ a wedding well is not the hardest thing to learn. But to be able to translate that to making customers believe you can DJ well is very different. This is a great example. When I was paying for all the advertising, it was $750 and not a single customer booked. Some I would have conversations with, maybe one, and she was fighting for the lowest price. I was throwing discounts at her just because she was being so annoying about it. She was like, it's a micro wedding, 4 hours, 50 people. And then I was like, okay, we'll give you a micro wedding deal. We'll give you this. She's like, my husband's a veteran, I'm a teacher. I was like, no, nobody made you be a teacher, but okay, I'll throw you a discount, I guess, right? And then she ended up not booking, and I was like, I was fighting so hard for that booking, and she was just trying to negotiate for the tightest price. A couple months later, a venue that I had made friends with sent me a customer that they recommended to me. I didn't get any questions about my setup. I didn't get any questions about anything, what it looked like, this, that, or with the price. As soon as he sent her my way, I sent her the price, and then she said, sounds great, let's book.
Wow. Yeah.
So that recommendation, that's when I realized, okay, I don't need to advertise and I need to do more raw growth, because that recommendation is so powerful, because she had already booked with this venue, so she already trusted this guy. So him saying we like this DJ, we recommend him, is so strong that they'll pay whatever you ask. They'll pay
Much
whatever you
better,
ask.
like conversion rates.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It became off of like when I was dry hitting up people, like, can I DJ your wedding? That was I would never land one of those. But when it was a recommendation setting my way, oh my gosh, the only way you wouldn't land it is if something else came along that was like stupid deal or something. Like it was hard not to land it. Like it was like the odds were very in your favor whenever they come to you from a recommendation. So after that, that's all I've been doing.
What would you recommend? It sounds like you've done a tremendous amount of networking for your business. What would you recommend for somebody who maybe that's not their strong suit, or maybe they're like afraid to reach out because, I don't know, for like whatever reason?
If doing your own business isn't easy, it's a lot of things outside of DJing weddings that may not be for everyone. So if you're not very comfortable with some of those parts, I would recommend getting if someone loves DJing weddings and they don't really want to do the business facing stuff, then you could still have a very nice career. And if that's your main career, I mean, that's my side career, right? But if somebody else's side career, main career, whatever they want to do, you could still have a very nice living doing contract work or working for another business. There are some really good businesses in the area, and I know some DJs that make you can still make $700 to $1,000 a gig at those some nicer companies. So it definitely doesn't have to be your own business the own way. The reason I mostly went for my own business is because it's fun.
Right.
And when it comes to things like DJ photo booth add-ons, you can really start getting big ticket sales, and then that all goes to your business, and then you can pay your friend to do the photo booth and still keep a lot of change. And then you can also contract out stuff too, which I really try not to do often. But that's like free money.
Really?
Yeah. There was one gig.
Wait. So you can get your own gigs and contract it to a completely other DJ?
Yeah. Those are the free money. And I try not to do that. I really try not to do that because
it's your reputation on the line.
If I do it, it's going to be a good friend. A friend that I really trust that had been that DJ'd like over 200 weddings as well. But typically when I'm talking to when I get a customer, I'll let them know if I'm not going to be DJing the wedding or not. Yeah. Most of these people got recommended to me, and I have the date open, so I'm DJing their wedding because it's my business, but it's mostly me. So it's like, okay, I'll DJ your wedding.
How often in advance do people book their weddings?
Mostly like 6 months. But before that, if it's someone, if I tell them I'm like I'm not available on that date, but I can have one of my other DJs
Yeah.
for you, and they're cool with that, then I'll contract my friend. And that's when it's like
Oh, so
they
you
paid
hit
me
their
they paid me $1,200. I paid my friend $600, and
Wow.
then it was just a free $600, right?
And so like you are you and your DJ friend sort of on like the same level? I'm sure you guys are both trying to do your own DJ businesses, right?
Yeah, all my DJ friends. I mean, I have a lot of wedding DJ friends. A lot of them work for companies. A lot of them have their own business. So it just depends where they're at.
Gotcha.
Not everyone wants to start their own business. I mean, it's a lot of.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work.
But
Where you're at right now, do you what percent comes from your own and what percent comes from independent contracting, like the gigs that you do?
yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on the months, but on a yearly basis, and I actually in preparation for this, I broke it down on a yearly basis. And because I did so many events this year, I think in November alone, I did like 12, 13 events.
Wow.
And 12 were weddings. Yeah, 13
There's only
events
4
in total.
weekends, dude.
There's only 4 weekends. There were some weekends where it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm not, obviously I didn't walk away that weekend with $5,000, right? They weren't all through my business. So I think probably 50% my business, 50% contract.
Wow. But if you can get to that point where all 5 would be your your
Yeah,
business,
it's
my
huge.
goodness.
Yeah. And then and you're not even,
$6,000 a weekend?
and okay, but that's rare. That's not happening to the average. That's just because some
Yeah.
companies have so much work that they can contract it out. But your personal events are going to be way more profitable. And the reason it's 50-50, it's not like I get half contract and half my own bookings. I probably get 3 times as many contract work as my own bookings, but my own bookings pay 3 times the amount that the contract work is, so it ends up being around the same. But yeah.
Okay, well that's cool. Super happy to have you on. That's some great advice, and specifically just the way that you've like slowly your business has slowly grown to like eat up the independent contract time, because like before you used to do exclusively independent contracts, right?
Yeah.
And now you've moved on to now you're doing 50% of like your work is towards your own venues, and like you're building up your own business based on like the independent contract work that you used to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty cool, and that's a very unique way of approaching a business.
Yeah, and what you were saying earlier about the amount you can make in a weekend, that's if they're just hiring DJs, but that's a big part. Our one mountain business is you could really up those contracts. If it's DJ photo booth plus things, I think the biggest contract I've gotten signed so far was worth $2,000, and
Wow.
and they got DJ and photo booth, but I just contracted it to my friend. But
Oh my God.
some of these entertainment companies, once you do, their average contract can be like $2,500 because they really start to have a lot of options that they sell.
Have you thought about the different ways to grow your business? Like, because I know you're super set on value, but have you thought about A, expanding on your price point, and then B, expanding on like your customers? I guess you've already thought about, getting more customers, but also the price point as well.
Yeah. So, and I know I'm gonna let this go one more minute so we don't take up too much time, right? But I've been a little bit of both. I've been a value in terms of cost leadership.
Yeah.
And offering a very high quality service in terms of the equipment, microphones, me, myself, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I could beat other companies on that is because they had all this cost and they were paying the DJ and they were paying for this office and they were paying for this, that I would take home a lot more and I could charge less.
Yeah,
these companies
I think
were.
there's like another aspect too. Like you care more than these other, like if it's like an independent contractor gig and you're getting like, A, just a fourth of the payment, but also B, like it's not your business, it's not your reputation on the line. Like it doesn't have to succeed. Do you think that there's like a difference there?
It depends.
Okay.
I always took it like my own business because at the end of the day, they're not going to be like this business DJ'd my wedding. It was you that DJ'd their wedding. So
do you think most DJs do that, or?
I don't know. Some DJs suck, like we talked about earlier. Right. But yeah, bringing that whole thing together with the value, price is what has driven my success so far. And I said that I wouldn't raise the price until it became an issue. Right now, I'm in the process of really growing, and I want that price to remain where it is and try to offer more so those weekends really start getting filled up.
I do want to ask you one more question before we wrap things up. Why you said that this was sort of a side business. What makes you not want to pursue this as like a main career?
I don't know.
It sounds like you're killing it.
It
Sounds like there's so much room for growth and that you're really into it. Like this is your passion.
Yeah, I mean it's a passion, but it's not the whole
Right.
deal. I mean I like the academic side a lot more. It's just I could try to make it my whole career, but it just wouldn't be enough. It just wouldn't be. I'd rather keep it as a side career, and I didn't want to grow too big because that's the problem I see with other companies. They're growing too big, they're trying to grow too much, and it's just ugly.
I mean, you're a big fan of organic growth. I think that organic growth would be more a safer way of doing it.
Yeah. My big thing that we can wrap up on was about making it work efficiently for me. Because once you start really growing, it gets to a point where it's not really efficient. It's like this is becoming to be a lot more work, and it's becoming worse. So my goal for my business was to make it as the work to reward ratio as prime as possible, and not something I had to be constantly worrying about. Once you grow, you can start making a lot more money, but it becomes something you're constantly worrying about. I really want to focus on the financial career I want.
Right.
And then have this business on the side that it only takes a couple hours a week of maintenance. I may DJ a wedding on the weekend, and life is good. Right?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a great side hustle. I appreciate you coming on and all the insights that you've shared today.